One of the toughest jobs in law enforcement is telling a family that a loved one has been killed by a drunk driver. That's why Georgia law enforcement works every day to keep drunk drivers off the road. Every DUI arrest could be one less family to lose someone to drunk driving. You can help. Hand the keys to a designated driver or call a ride service. It saves lives and prevents a costly DUI arrest. Drive sober or get pulled over. Brought to you by the Governor's Office of Highway Safety.
Albert Einstein said, "Don't listen to the person who has the answers. Listen to the person who has the questions." My name is April Novoa, and welcome to the Everything Considered podcast, where we discuss everything from mysticism to philosophy. Thank you so much for joining us today. Are you looking for guidance and direction? Stop on by the House of Light Tuesdays from 12 to 3 and have tea and tarot with Christy. The House of Light is located at 29 Jackson Street in Noonan, Georgia. Call 470-414-6711 for more information. The Herb Shop offers alternative holistic approaches to health, as well as personalized programs for your specific health issues. They are located at 408 Ridley Avenue in LaGrange. Stop on by or give them a call for more information at 706-756-1400, or you can find them on Facebook at The Herb Shop LaGrange.
The House of Light brings clarity to your soul, offering a safe space for healing through our compassionate practitioners, services, classes, and wisdom, plus the tools to support you in our retail space.
Hello, everybody. I'm very excited today. I have a special guest. Her name is Sandra Lee, and Sandra Lee is an intuitive healer. She has a very, very long history of healing in alternative healthcare and human design and biofield tuning, and she helps entrepreneurs be their best and find out how to use their energy properly. Sandra, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for inviting me, April. I've been looking forward to this.
Me too, because we kind of know each other, not really, sort of, from having co-authored a book. I have right here, Stop Overworking, Start Overflowing. And so you're chapter 3, I believe, and I'm chapter 5. And I was really fascinated after reading it because you do something quite unusual in human design. Not only are you a specialist, you integrate the use of tuning forks into your practice. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Biofield tuning is using tuning forks and sound in the energy field. And I use it with human design. Okay. So I create a hologram that represents the person or the project or the relationship or whatever it is I'm working on. I create a hologram that represents that on the table in front of me.
Okay.
And then I'm working with the aura around it and using the sound and the tuning forks. And one day I was doing biofield tuning for someone on Zoom.
Okay.
I don't even know where they were, like in the world somewhere.
Right.
And I started seeing the human design chart, the triangle laid over it.
Wow.
I was like, this is kind of crazy. But the truth is, it's a parallel system.
Okay.
So I believe that all of the different ways of healing, they all are working with the same thing.
Right.
All humans have the same general issues, and they tend to show up in our energy fields, in our chakra centers, in our human design charts in the same ways, because all of these systems parallel each other. Wow. So when we look at the human design chart, they break down roughly into the same chakra centers,
right,
with the issues in the chart paralleling in the chakra centers.
Okay.
So the same thing with biofield tuning and the energy field.
Oh, wow.
So I started working with them together. And then now what I do is I like doing a human design reading for someone and or their business, and then doing biofield tuning. And issues come up in the tuning session. It's like, let's look and see how that shows up in your human design chart, because you know, of course, that
Right.
happens all of the time. Life
Oh, yeah.
issues are in the chart.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, so we know, because we've talked about it, that you
Mhm.
have this issue in your life,
Mhm.
and this is how it's showing up in your human design chart. And now it's coming up in the energy field. So what we can do then is, with the biofield tuning, is have the sound
Mhm.
and the intention help us to integrate that issue.
Oh, wow.
Because, people have all kinds of struggles in their life. Things that
Yes.
work, things that don't work, things that they want, places where they're stuck.
Mhm.
And human design helps them so much to understand those things based on their blueprint, their design.
Right.
And that's what human design does. But
Right.
with biofield tuning, I'm working with their energy field at the same time.
Wow.
And then looking at those areas where we get stuck, it's based on trauma, stuff that's happened from the past.
Okay.
And I'm working with that in the energy field.
Okay.
So imagine that I have, here's me, and I have my aura around me.
Uh-huh.
In biofield tuning, we find that out at the edge of the field is conception.
Right.
And then there's inherited stuff that's outside the field.
Okay.
And then I'm conceived and I have my life
Mm-hmm.
until I come to current time. So as I work through the energy field, I'm working with everybody's, their history,
Wow.
all of the stuff that has happened.
Wow. So it goes beyond just telling someone their mechanics and how to use their mechanics properly. It goes into shadow elements or hurts, wounds that occur in the biofield themselves.
Everything.
That's beautiful.
And including like inherited stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a lot of times when I start doing biofield tuning and I'm at the edge of the field, the energy is going out. So there's stuff from parents, grandparents, or other lifetimes
Right.
that are involved in whatever the person is struggling with.
That's very interesting. So you specialize, you tend to work with a lot of entrepreneurs. And how would they incorporate this in like business, like how they're doing business exactly? Or
You've probably found when doing human design that their design has a big impact on the business they do, the type of work they do, the contribution that they make.
Yes.
So we start from there.
Okay.
Right? So we start with human design. So it's like the person understands what their purpose is.
Right.
And then how that's showing up in their life personally and in their business, in their work.
Right.
And with that understanding, that makes a huge difference for someone in their ability to identify what it is they're doing, how they're serving, or if they don't know what business they want to do, what business they would be good at, they would enjoy.
Right.
So we certainly do that same thing, okay? But then when we start doing biofield tuning, there are places where they get stuck. So in your business, have you ever reached a place of not knowing what to do? I'm confused. This isn't working very well.
Yes.
So when you reach those places of being stuck or confused, your energy is stuck. So imagine that, I have my body, and for my body to work properly and for me as a person in my body to work well, the energy needs to be flowing.
Right.
That makes sense.
It does.
Right?
Yeah.
So the energy has to be coming from above, from God, the source, sun, and coming through my body and connecting me to the earth. And then energy needs to be coming from the earth into my body, through the body, and out the top of my head.
Right.
And it needs to go out through my arms. Right? So it's like the beginning of a biofield tuning session does that. It establishes that flow, that connection from the earth, feeding my field, and from the sun, God, divine, all energized in the field. When I am happy and flowing and healthy physically, able to think clearly, my energy field is going to be flowing through. It's going to move through my body with ease.
Right.
Okay? But any time the energy gets stuck or blocked, it keeps me from being able to function. It keeps me from being able to think.
Right.
And the illustration I give is, imagine I'm walking along and I ram my foot into a box, right? And I
Right.
stub my toe.
Yeah.
And it hurts. And I can't walk. I'm limping,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when I take my foot and I jam it like that, the energy gets stuck.
Right.
Instead of flowing through my foot, it gets stuck in my foot.
Right.
And it actually gets stuck all the way through my whole body just from stubbing my toe.
Right.
I'm limping along, so like I can't function properly.
Yes.
And it could be that if I've hurt myself in any minor way or even a major way, it keeps me from being able to think because I'm in pain, I'm stuck, I'm not able to do what I want to do. And so my energy gets all blocked.
Right.
So anytime my energy is blocked, I can't function.
Right.
So biofield tuning is fabulous at helping to be able to clear that.
Wow.
Because when I'm working with somebody doing biofield tuning, I hit my fork like this, and I can see energetically where the block is.
Wow.
Since starting to do biofield tuning, my intuitive receptivity and accuracy has dramatically
Off the charts.
improved.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I can see where the energy is stuck. And it's dependent on the context.
Okay.
So we're going along and the energy is moving. And if the person thinks about a place where they're stuck, or they get confused, or they think about a person they don't like, their energy stops flowing. And all it takes is one thought. So it's like you and I know that mindset makes a world of difference.
It does. Right? Yeah.
What I think has a dramatic impact on the flow of my energy.
That's so interesting. And, I think about like we both have careers, in my case, a former career in massage therapy. And I think a lot about, as you're talking about something like myofascial release and how one adhesion can really affect something completely different. And so you're kind of doing that like in the energetic realm per se, and one little snag, one little place of contraction or tension has the capability of affecting the entire field. That's so fascinating.
Which means it affects the entire body and everything affecting the body.
Right.
Everything about your health, everything about how your brain works and your clarity and your ability to like step out and make things happen in your life.
Right.
It affects everything.
Wow.
So if on an energetic level, I am able to help that to be able to flow, that gives the person access to more freedom.
Yes. Yes. I think a lot of people don't understand that everything's frequency, everything's vibrating. I think that's a big stretch for a lot of people. But it's true. It absolutely is. Everything has some sort of vibration. And that's what you're working with. You're clearing out places that are stuck, that might maybe have previous injuries or some sort of conditioning that's not moving.
Belief systems.
Yes. Yes.
I describe it that, if I have something I want to do or I intend to do, but my inner 6-year-old is holding on to things that happened to me.
Yeah.
Right? I describe it that my inner 6-year-old is pulling the circuit breakers and keeping me from being able to be out there doing what I want to do.
Wow.
In my now life, that feels like I'm afraid or I'm confused or I don't have motivation.
Right.
When I understand that it's because my 6-year-old enables me to then take care of my 6-year-old in here.
Yes.
In here. And she doesn't have to turn my circuit breakers off anymore. Right.
Yeah, because our shadow elements show up initially to protect us, and then they stick around, and havoc happens. So.
Absolutely. Here's how I love describing this. Imagine I have all of my survival mechanisms, and the only reason why I'm still here is because they did their job.
Right.
So they're important. I'm not
Yes.
going to get rid of them.
Right.
So I have people imagine that all my survival mechanisms are in a cloak.
Okay.
And when I'm safe, which is most of the time, I
Mm-hmm.
can take my cloak off and put it in the closet.
Mm-hmm.
And then any time there is danger, because it happens,
Mm-hmm.
a physical danger, a mean person, someone's
Mm-hmm.
criticizing me, I can take my survival mechanisms and put it right back on in a
Okay.
second and
Wow.
protect myself when necessary.
So it's not about getting rid of these parts of ourselves. It's about identifying them, having compassion towards them, and using them only when necessary, as opposed to walking around with that cloak all the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
And of course, you know that human design is one of the most valuable tools
Mm-hmm.
for helping me understand those traumas and those wounds and those
Right.
beliefs.
Right. Because it's those open areas that we take in our conditioning and trauma, and those are the areas that it's important to kind of understand and know. Like for example, I've got an open head, so I know that I'm going to be taking in the thoughts of other people, going to feel pressured to answer questions that are not necessarily mine to answer. And, there's something to be said about every open center that puts an additional pressure on us.
Yeah. But it's not just the open centers. So it's like you and I both have the throat connected to the G or the identity.
Right.
So for me, that's been my biggest lifelong struggle.
Oh, yeah.
Taking things personally.
Oh, yeah. It's
And
so sensitive.
Feeling like I have to do everything perfectly.
Yes.
So I have tons of conditioning around that.
Yes.
And it's more around my definition than my openness, though the undefined emotional solar plexus and feeling pressure to keep people happy. I have that too.
Yeah. And I'm sure that your son in gate 26 is not terribly helpful with that. I mean, it wants integrity, but it can like flip over to perfection. Right?
Absolutely. And that's been one of those
yeah, it's a struggle.
Yeah. But like our struggles are also our superpowers.
That's right. That's right. That divine expression can come through there powerfully when we view it incorrectness and find some healing in that space for sure. And I think awareness is like the first thing. I mean, it's just being aware, because a lot of people don't understand that we have an energetic field, that we are a vibration, that these wounds do live in those places in us energetically. Do you ever work with people with post-traumatic stress disorder?
Absolutely. I mean, whether diagnosed or not.
Okay.
Because the truth is, everyone has post-traumatic stress.
Yeah, they do.
Just the process of being born and separated from mother
it's traumatic.
Creates this survival threat. All these issues with not being seen, not being heard, not belonging. It all starts right there at the beginning of life. And virtually everyone has that trauma.
Sure. Yeah.
So, yeah, and, people with actually more significant and diagnosable post-traumatic stress. You want to hear a story?
Oh, please. Absolutely.
Yeah. One of the people who I've worked with, she wants me to tell her story because it's biofield tuning has made so much difference for her. And she was molested when she was 2 and molested when she was 7 and raped when she was 16 and raped again when she was 22.
Oh my goodness.
So it's like coming to me in her 40s. She had been through a ton of therapy and made tons of changes in her life, but daily life was still being impacted by all of this trauma.
Right.
And we started doing biofield tuning, and it started changing her life immediately. Because she had already done all of the healing.
Right.
She knew what all the stuff was. She just hadn't been able to find freedom from the impact of it on her life.
Right.
She'd already changed the belief systems, right? And doing the biofield tuning helped her clear it out of her field. So it's like I look at that everything that happens is like a ball of energy.
Right.
Everything that happens, positive or negative, is stored in my energy field. It's stored in my body. It's stored in me mentally and emotionally. All of those layers.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got all of these balls of garbage
Mm-hmm.
that happened to me in my field.
Mm. Yeah.
And it keeps me from being able to interact cleanly with people because all this garbage is in the way.
Right.
And so what I feel like I'm doing with the biofield tuning is helping to take these balls of energy and collapse them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then they're no longer in my way.
Mm-hmm.
I can be myself.
Mm-hmm.
You can be yourself
Right.
with me
Right.
in a clearer space.
Right.
And she is an entirely different person now.
That's amazing.
She's happy. She's taken control of her food issues. She's no longer using pot. I mean, all of these things
Right.
are
That
completely different.
She was using to cope.
Yes. And when I have all this garbage in my field, right,
Mm-hmm.
that's what attracts people to me.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff relating to my trauma.
Right. Right.
So when that's no longer in the way, I then become more available to have relationships that are what I really want them to be.
Yes.
Rather than based on wounding. Because
Right.
that's where she was.
I think that's the case for a lot of people. A lot of people have relationships with the people that they have relationships with because their view is obscured by these traumas, so to speak. And so they project outwards all sorts of ideas about others in the world. And so they kind of, in Gene Keys, we call that the fractal, right? So we bring them onto our fractal. And when we are able to clear those things, then we vibrate in an entirely different way. And we just naturally start to bring people into our lives that are more vibrating where we are. And those that have not been healthy for us just tend to kind of drop off. I definitely see that.
They don't match anymore.
Right. Because it's all about resonance. And if you're not resonating with someone anymore, then that relationship, has served its purpose. And now you have space to bring in somebody who's healthier for you. Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. And one of the things I really like about this is, a lot of people, and I'm not discounting therapy because I think it's a wonderful thing for people if that's what they need. But like you said, she had done all the things. She knew from a mental understanding what her issues were, but that wasn't really helpful because it didn't clear those issues. And one of the beautiful things about what you're saying is that it's not really necessary to rehash all this. You're just changing frequency.
Yeah. And, sometimes people have done a lot of the work, but they don't necessarily understand how this relates to this, relates to this, relates to the issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, in my experience, people tend to focus on the one thing that they see is the real problem.
Right.
And get so focused on that they miss the connection of that to everything else.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm doing biofield tuning, a huge amount of intuitive information comes to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we go into the session focusing on smoking, for example. And so I start doing the tuning and something comes to mind. Oh, so how does that comes to mind relate to smoking?
Right.
Because in my mind, your soul has things that it wants you to know.
Mm-hmm.
But you're close to it. You're too close to see it.
Right.
I can't see my stuff.
No.
I need somebody else to help me.
Yeah.
So I am working with you, say, and your soul says, okay, April would benefit from knowing this.
Mm-hmm.
She's struggling with this, and this is related.
Mm-hmm.
So it gives it to me so that I can make you conscious of it.
Wow.
And the connection.
Yes. Yeah.
And that enables you, with integrating all that understanding of all those pieces, it helps to loosen that knot.
Right.
so that you have more access to really releasing yourself from the hold that that issue has had on you.
So it sometimes isn't the thing that we think it is. It's like you gave the example of your, jamming your foot into something and the focus becomes completely on the foot. But meanwhile, there are other things connected to this. So, but like you said, if you're so close to a situation, it's very difficult to see it from a broader perspective where you can see all the components and parts that are contributing to it. Because it's not, we are inside the vehicle. We're not outside the vehicle. So we can't see ourselves per se very well. And that's where you come in, where you can kind of have a broader perspective of what's going on with somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, that same thing happens with human design.
Yes.
So we're doing readings with people, and they know their issue.
Right.
But they always look at it the same way.
Right.
And looking at it from the perspective of the chart enables us to make aware for them, this is connected to...
Right.
Look at it this way.
Yeah.
And I call it getting outside of my head perspective.
Yes.
When I get somebody else's viewpoint, that's not what I've been running in my head all the time. Like, oh, I could look at it that way. Changes everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing we do kind of like in all of our systems currently, we have this kind of mono, like third dimension way of viewing a thing where everybody's the same and whatever's going on has the same cause for everybody. And we're a lot more complex than that as humans. It isn't so simple. It isn't, just one thing necessarily. It could be multiple things contributing to that one thing. That's not even actually the issue. So it's very helpful to have someone who can kind of see you from that perspective and help you, kind of reintroduce yourself or draw yourself back to your own inner knowing. Because I really do believe everybody has that wisdom on the inside of them, but we've really been conditioned out of being connected to our inner knowing. And so you're, in a sense, also really helping others to become intuitive about their own, what's going on in their own lives and in their bodies.
All the way back from doing massage therapy, through everything I'm doing now, so much of it is helping my client be aware.
Yes.
And, when I'm doing massage, not doing massage anymore, or when I'm doing biofield tuning,
right,
I am talking almost continuously because I'm getting all this information and delivering it to them because I want to empower the person to be able to help themselves.
Right.
To be aware, something is coming up. Well, that I know what that is. So how do I want to deal with that? Wow. And human design is terrific at providing people with clarity and then, practical strategies for how to shift the situation they find themselves in.
Yes. Yes. It certainly makes them aware of how they take in energy as opposed to someone else, which is very unique. And it's very, very empowering for sure. So you do have a background in chemistry. So you really do know your science. Does that play a role in what you do? The basis of that?
Yeah. So as a massage therapist, I found that a lot of what I was doing to help people understand is educate them about what's going on in their bodies. And with that understanding, know how to take care of themselves.
Right.
So, in terms of understanding if there's scar tissue or something, like explaining, the muscle physiology and what's going on.
Right.
Or, the importance of drinking water or getting enough salt or what happens when you have a food reaction. So it's like being able to take my understanding of all of those things and how it affects the person's body and then what they are struggling with. So it's like I make a connection for them. This is what's going on in your body. Physically, you got muscle tissue and you've got blood and all that stuff. Right. And here's how you can impact what you are dealing with physically in your life. And then, here's an example. When I started doing biofield tuning, part of me was, this is energy work, and my experience is that I don't necessarily get real, results, noticeable change with energy work. So is this doing something? Is it not? So when the pandemic shutdown started, I couldn't go to other people, and they couldn't come to me for a massage. And a friend of mine who lives 5 minutes from here, she had fallen on the vacuum cleaner with her hand, and it was black and blue, and she couldn't open it.
Ooh, goodness.
So I called her on the phone, and I did biofield tuning for her on the phone. This was before I started doing Zoom with it. And while I was working on her, the blues went away, and she was able to open her hand.
Wow.
And part of it is just me doing the tuning. But part of it is, I am seeing in my mind what's going on physically, understanding about the physiology and the blood and the scar tissue and inflammation, all that stuff, and talking to my friend, speaking into the field. What we want to do is we want that inflammation to, pull out, use the lymphatic system, get the blood moving out. And the bruise went away, and she was able to open her hand.
Wow.
So it's like, wow, I am actually doing something.
Yeah.
And my facility with talking about chemistry and the body and the physiology in terms that people can relate to really makes a difference.
Yeah. I think it's kind of, you're kind of speaking their language so that they can understand better. Yeah, we're moving, and I'm very glad to see that our society is moving more towards understanding that we're not just what's contained inside the body, that there's a field outside the body. Wow, I think there is something to this, but that was my whole, I kind of believe that that proverb that says, little doubt, little enlightenment, big doubt, big enlightenment, right? So I think it's very healthy to have doubt. But I think what is important is that you test it, you see. And I think it's been your experience and mine that human design has been pretty wonderful in terms of learning about ourselves and others and how we interact differently. Yeah, definitely. So,
and I've just been having so much fun with the combination.
Yes.
Of human design and biofield tuning, and literally working with them at the same time.
Yeah.
Integrating them together has been so amazing.
That is really incredible. It is amazing to see you do this. Now we can find you. You have a website called miracleinspirations.com.
Yes.
Okay. And so if y'all out there want to find out more about Sandra, check out miracleinspirations.com. You're also on Facebook, Sandra Lee Inspiration, to put on my glasses, and Instagram, Miracle Inspirations, and they can email you too at sandra@miracleinspirations.com.
Yes.
No, very good. So
and if anybody wants to, meet with me, I'm happy to do that.
Okay.
I also have a free gift, a checklist, making powerful and effective decisions.
Okay. Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, I really liked how your chapter was laid out. It was very practical. And then I noticed too that you have another book that you also contributed on your website. What is the name of that one again? I didn't write it down.
Abundance by Design.
Okay.
And then there's one I'm contributing to now. I'm working on another book project, Energy Medicine.
Fabulous. Oh, that's very exciting. Well, I know everyone's going to be very exciting to learn more about you. You're a blogger as well. Do you have a blog site, or do you blog on your website?
It's on the website, and I've also been putting it on Medium. So
okay, wonderful. That's awesome. So Sandra supports entrepreneurs in consciously bringing their divine gifts to life through their services and products. And she's combining two really powerful modalities. So you definitely want to check out her website and contact her if you're interested, which I know you will be interested. And then I always ask one last question to all my guests before they leave. And there's no right or wrong answer. If you could live at any time in history, when would that be and why?
I would really love to be in the United States in the time where we had all of the bison.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And, there used to be just like these never stopping flows of bison. And, birds would fly and they would darken the sky. I would love to be in that time, for example, and, using fencing that enables you to move the cows from one place to another place, so that you're working with the way the grass works. So when the cow bites the grass off, the roots in the ground die, and it makes the soil healthier.
Yes.
And it causes the plants to have their roots go deep, and it regenerates the soil.
Nature. I feel like health is found there, both mentally, spiritually, and physically. If we can kind of not necessarily turn back the clock, but return closer to how things were. I couldn't agree more, Sandra. I thank you very much for coming on today. It was just an absolute pleasure getting to speak with you, and really excited to learn more about what you do. And thank you so much.
Thank you. Awaken the heart of your business.
Yes. Thank you. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. We'll see you next time. Thank you so much for joining us today on the Everything Considered podcast. Join us next Friday at 10:30 a.m. on WQEE. Feel free to like, share, and comment about what you've heard today. To find out more about my work, please visit my website at humandesignsimplified.weebly.com.
WQEE 99.1.
At Lowe's, every pro is an MVP to us. It doesn't matter how big or small your business is. If you're a plumber, roofer, electrician, or remodeler, your business earns back when you spend, gets exclusive offers, and paint rewards. It all adds up to help drive your business. Join Lowe's MVP's Pro Rewards and Partnership Program today. Minimum purchase required. Earnings and paint rewards awarded as Lowe's e-gift cards. Exclusions, restrictions, and more terms apply. Valid through 12/31/22. See Lowe's.com/L/Pro Loyalty Terms. Subject to change. U.S. only.